welcome to this special edition of Witness with me, Mariko Oi. I'm here in Tokyo to introduce you to 5 people who have experienced extraordinary moments in Japanese history firsthand. We'll meet a doctor who treated thousands of the injured at Hiroshima, 2 brothers who were among the first to learn the Suzuki method of playing the violin, and a cameraman who captured Japan's royal wedding in the 1950s. But first, in 1995, this city's busy subway system was brought to a standstill when the deadly nerve gas sarin was released at this station behind me. It later transpired it had been released in 5 locations across the network by the Omu Shindikyo doomsday cult. Toshiaki Toyoda was the deputy station master at Kasumigaseki station on that day.
At the height of the morning rush hour in the world's most crowded underground system, the madness of indiscriminate murder. More than 3,000 subway passengers were affected.
At 12 minutes past 8, I was told that there was a suspicious object on the Chiyoda Line train, which had just arrived. So I went up to the platform upstairs, and I saw a train stopped right there.
Several people had been seen planting packages at stations and on a number of trains. I saw a package wrapped in newspaper. It was leaking, said this man. Then the stinging fumes hit my eyes.
My colleague, Mr. Hishinuma, was communicating with headquarters from the driver's cab. Another colleague, Mr. Takahashi, was wiping the platform with newspaper. I saw a trail of spots. It looked like oil, spilt as it had been carried out of the train onto the platform. I put the crumpled newspapers which had been used to wipe the floor in a plastic bag. The 3 of us put all the newspapers in the bag. I was worried that these things might explode, so I took the bag downstairs to the office. Then I heard Mr. Takahashi had collapsed.
The unseen chemicals striking people down in a matter of seconds. They choked and vomited, some were blinded and paralyzed. One of the first confirmations that a deadly nerve gas had caused the poisoning was given by this doctor. It is sarin, he said. It is one of the worst of all poisons.
By then, my body had started shivering. I tried to make a report about the 8:12 train, but my hand was shaking, and I couldn't even write 8. So I took my cap and uniform off and washed my face. I guess I was trying to pull myself together. Then I collapsed. When I woke up, I was in hospital. My staff were there. Because I knew Mr. Takahashi had collapsed, I was wondering how he was doing. I wanted to ask, but I had tubes in my mouth. So I got a pen and paper and wrote his name. One of the staff made a sign like this. Then I wrote Mr. Hishinuma's name. The worker made the same sign. Oh, out of the 3 of us, only I have survived. My colleagues told me that after I collapsed, they carried me upstairs together, and they evacuated all of the passengers from Kasumigaseki station. There were no passengers killed at that station.
The leader of a Japanese cult has been sentenced to death for masterminding a gas attack in Tokyo 9 years ago. 12 people died when Shoko Asahara ordered the release of sarin into the underground system.
The pain never stops coming after me, because 2 of my subordinates died, and me, the supervisor, survived. I wish I'd known about sarin and how to deal with it. I could have made them wash their hands and faces. I feel I simply wasn't good enough as the person in charge.
ていう思いですよね。
Toshiaki Toyoda speaking to us from his home here in Tokyo. And next, in the post-war era, musician Shinichi Suzuki developed a new method of teaching the violin. The system would later catch on around the world. Brothers Hideya and Toshiya Taida were two of his first students.
I started the violin at the age of 10. I'm one of the first graduates of Suzuki method. I'm a younger brother of Hideo. I started at the age of 4. So Toshiya was always listening my practice. He couldn't read any music, but he could play Mozart or other difficult pieces without reading any music.
The idea here is that from the age of 3, Japanese children can be taught to play simple tunes by ear. As the Japanese teacher Suzuki himself says, they learn to speak with the violin at the same time as they learn to speak their mother tongue.
Dr. Suzuki studied the violin in Germany and returned. He started a professor in the school in Tokyo, but because of the war, he evacuated to Tokyo and lived in the countryside of Japan. And he started Suzuki method in Matsumoto. At that time, he was around 50 and very handsome, and maybe he was very attractive for many Japanese mothers. My mother was so impressed at his philosophy and educational concept. She decided to open the branch of Suzuki method. After the war finished, the generation of parents are very eager to look for new culture or new lifestyle, even though they are not enough food. And so they have a great concern about the education of the children for the future. Yes, it is often criticized that the Suzuki method is so mechanical. Actually, we remember that Dr. Suzuki was very much concerned about the making of good sounds. Dr. Suzuki's father manufactured violin. Not only the full size, but the half size, 1/4, or 1/8, or 1/16 of the smallest one. 1/16, even 1/32. Already? that is just like a toy, of course. The sound is not so good. After I completed the 10 set of Suzuki textbook, I was very lucky. I had a chance to get a lesson at his house. We haven't seen any time that he was angry. He was always very, very gentle and a sense of humor and loved children. So that's why the children likes me very much. There are many top-class professional musicians under Suzuki method. We didn't become professional musician. After graduated the university, we entered the trading farms as a businessman. There are many other people who entered into the different worlds, academics or business or researcher. If I have no chance to meet Dr. Suzuki and learn the violin, my life will be completely different.
Hideya and Toshiya Taida there, still playing the violin decades later. In 1956, reports started to emerge of what would come to be known as Japan's worst case of industrial pollution in the town of Minamata. Fujie Sakamoto and her family were among those who were devastated by the disaster.
I can't tell you just how much I hate the chemical factory. Chiso Corporation devastated our ocean and our people. I just hate it. People used to say that life in Minamata was wonderful. Chiso Corporation was the only company in Minamata. We are still frightened by the awfulness of the mercury which was leaked from the factory. It poisoned the fish. Then people who ate the seafood got Minamata disease.
There'd been no poisoning before a chemical factory was built in the bay. But the company, the Chiso Corporation, denied all responsibility and continued to pump its waste into the sea.
Cats got the disease before people. They went blind and danced round and round like crazy.
Soon it was clear that people were suffering as well.
Mayumi was my first daughter. She couldn't eat fish well because she was only 3 years old. But she could eat prawns by herself, so I let her eat a lot of prawns. We thought that something might be wrong with Mayumi. We thought she might have the strange disease. When her hand started shaking, I realized she had the disease. She became unable to walk properly, unable to speak.
Doctors from the local university filmed the shaking fits. They suspected metal poisoning.
When I visited her in hospital, she had lost her sight, but she could still hear. I said to her, "Mayumi, your mom is here. You don't have to cry anymore." She gave me a sweet smile. It was her last smile. On January 3rd of 1958, Mayumi died. By 1958, we knew it was caused by Chiso. Although Chiso knew it was caused by wastewater pumped into the bay by the factory, they tried to hide it. My second child is Shinobu. She contracted Minamata disease in the womb. I didn't think it was possible. But 3 months after she was born, I noticed that something was wrong with her. Shinobu is now 59 years old. In 1959, Chiso Corporation offered us some consolation money. Human life cannot be replaced by money.
Fujie Sakamoto remembering the terrible effects of industrial pollution. Remember, you can watch Witness every Wednesday on BBC World News, or you can catch up on all our films along with more than 1,000 radio programs in our online archive. Just go to bbc.com/witness. After the break, Japan's magnificent royal wedding and remembering Hiroshima.
The greatest threat to your security today might not be conventional weapons, but a keyboard. With hacking, identity theft and ransomware on the rise, the global cost of cybercrime could reach $2 trillion by 2019. In our connected world, infrastructure, businesses and personal devices are all vulnerable to attack. And with spending to combat cybercrime set to top $80 billion a year, how do we stay safe? Cyberhack season on BBC World News and BBC.com.
Outside Source doesn't just report a story, it looks at it from every angle. Live data visualizations help us understand what's happening and what it means. Interactive maps take you from a global view right down to street level. Real-time reporting and reaction from social media means you get the latest as we do. And the BBC's unparalleled global expertise allows us to reality check the biggest stories. News for a digital world, Outside Source with me, Ros Atkins on BBC World News.
Welcome back to this special edition of Witness here in Tokyo with me, Mariko Oi. When US forces dropped the world's first ever atomic bomb on Japan at the end of the Second World War, Shuntaro Hida was a young doctor working in the Japanese army. On the day the bomb fell, he helped treat thousands of the injured.
Last night's target for the first atomic bomb was the city of Hiroshima on the shores of the inland sea west of Kobe.
I saw a mushroom cloud taking shape over the sky of Hiroshima, and at the top of the cloud there was this pillar of fire, so I knew something terrible had happened. I was an officer, an army medic. On the 1st of August 1944, I was assigned to the Hiroshima Army Hospital. Like other cities, lots of warplanes flew over Hiroshima every day, but not a single bomb was dropped. I thought it was so strange. I couldn't understand why they would fly over and then drop the bombs somewhere else. At the time, I was in a village called Hesaka. It is by the Otter River and about 7 kilometers outside Hiroshima. At about 2 o'clock in the morning, an old man came to the hospital by bicycle. He asked me to come with him because his grandson had had a heart attack. I slept over at the farm, got dressed, and started to prepare a needle. I was about to inject the young boy with a drug so he could sleep until early evening. As I raised my hand looking up over Hiroshima, I saw a B-29 flying in the sky. It was the plane which would drop the bomb. There was a flash. It was a tremendous flash. I was dazzled by it, and I dropped the needle. At the time, I felt dizzy from the bright light of the explosion. It was said to be 7 kilometers wide. I saw this huge circle of fire in the blue sky. There were no clouds, just a deep red. I had never seen anything like it before. I shouted out to the old man that I was going back to Hiroshima, and I asked to use his bicycle. On the road, I saw a huge number of people. Some were standing and walking. Some were crawling on their knees. I was halfway to Hiroshima when I saw black smoke carried over the river on the wind, and by the smoke, I knew Hiroshima was burning. Straight away, officials had put up big tents in the middle of a schoolyard to treat the injured. Inside these tents, it was very hot, and they were full of injured people covered in blood. I started to treat people for their burns. There were also patients who died from symptoms because of the radiation. Those people started dying around the 9th of August. They had 40-degree temperatures, they were bleeding, and they had white spots under the skin. In the end, I think I treated 6,000 patients, maybe even 10,000. After that, I didn't want to continue my career as a doctor. Everyone I saw died, one after another. There was absolutely nobody I could save.
Shuntaro Hida recalling the devastation of Hiroshima. And our final witness is Shigeo Suzuki. He was one of the cameramen tasked with capturing Japan's spectacular royal wedding in 1959. As the then Crown Prince, today's Emperor, who lives inside this imperial palace, married a commoner, a first in the history of the Japanese royal family.
Crown Prince Akihito has married a commoner, Michiko Shoda, so breaking Japanese tradition of more than 2,600 years.
みんな自分のうちのですね、若い人たちが結婚するのより以上に嬉しくなってですね、どうしてもテレビでとにかく生のお二人を見たいと言ってきた人たちでですね、東京の人たちばかりではないと思うんですね。この中継はもしかしたら大きな転換期になるかもしれない。なんとなれば生でご成婚の中継を伝えることができるメディアはテレビしかないんですね。日本のテレビのほとんどの4分の3近いカメラを東京に集結してご成婚を撮ったわけですから。
The marriage ceremony, lasting only 15 minutes, took place in Kashikodokoro, a wooden shrine within the walls of the imperial palace. There was no hint of any Western influence in the wedding ritual. In sumptuous robes, such as the members of the imperial family have worn for centuries, the Crown Prince and his bride were made man and wife. Burdened by no fewer than 12 kimonos, it took Princess Michiko 3 hours to dress. The total weight was 33 pounds.
これまでの皇太子妃を選ぶというのは、旧皇族か旧家族の選ばれた人たちの中から選ばれるのが通例だったわけですけども、今回の正田美智子さんが皇太子妃に選ばれた時は一般国民の中から選ばれた。そうすることで皇族と国民との間の壁は完全に取り払われて、皇太子様のご成婚と日本経済が立ち直って占領時代が終わったことを大変喜びにしたんですね。ようやくこれからは日本足で生活をしていくことができると言ってご成婚を迎えることができたので、なんとなくめでたいよという言えるような生活感情があったんじゃないでしょうか。
Cheers accompanied them all the way as they began their drive through Tokyo.
美智子さんは愛称をミッチーと呼ばれてですね、みんなに親しまれていたんですね。中でも美智子さんの髪型はですね、若い女性の人気の的になってましたから、街中にあふれ出て、皇居前のところにですねクレーン車がありましてね、クレーン車に乗せたカメラを乗せて、これでズームしながら馬車を撮ることで、見てる人たちの顔を見たらですね、腕組みをしている、旗を振ってる、瞬き一つせずにとにかくテレビに見入ってるんですね。見てる人たちの顔がまさに楽しんでる、そんな場面でした。テレビをお家で見たり街頭テレビで見ていた人の数は1400万人。まさにご成婚の時というのはテレビ時代の到来も意味してたわけですね。いい場面に僕は一人の証人というか目撃者として僕はこれに付き合っていることができたのは、テレビマンとしては非常に幸せなことだったんだなと思ってます。
Shigeo Suzuki there on a turning point in Japanese society. And that's all from me here in Tokyo. Witness will be back at the British Library at the end of the month for another 5 first-hand moments of the recent past. But for now, from me and the rest of the Witness team, goodbye.